Good morning, Dr. Hora.
Hello, Ginny.
I found this paper to be a wonderful, wonderful exercise, and I've taken it quite seriously. And at the end of it, I have discovered that I know a whole lot less and have a whole lot more questions than I thought I would when I began. The actual topic of the paper, and it is the question that I would like to ask you this morning. What is the meaning of seeing ourselves as living souls who are here for God?
Well, that's the truth, Jenny. That is the truth of being, and that's the meaning of it. And the more we understand this truth, the freer, healthier, happier, and fulfilled we are.
What does it mean to be living?
To be living,
Yes.
to be living means to be conscious. Consciousness is the basic feature of life.
It's conscious of what?
Conscious of being conscious.
Is it possible to be a dead soul?
Is it possible to be what?
A dead soul?
No. No, the soul is never born and never dying. It is synonymous with the Christ. We are hid with Christ in God. That means essentially we are all Christ. The living soul is the Christ, our true selfhood, is the Christly selfhood which we are. And it is hid with Christ in God, which means that most of us aren't aware of it. We don't know about it. It's hidden from us through a thick veil of ignorance.
Dr. Hurt,
Yes?
let's say,
Yes, babe.
on the question of what is the soul, I vaguely remember you saying something you said in this book about maybe consciousness in our brain and our heart represents the soul.
Consciousness in our brain and in our heart.
Is our soul, is there a material way to identify our soul on the human body?
No, you see, the human body is not really material. It just appears to be material. It is thought in visible form. It is form which originally was formlessness. Formlessness tends to become form in human experience. And when we are seeking a healing, and we are asking what is the meaning of this symptom, then we are seeking to return from form into formlessness. But the soul, Faye, the soul is neither form nor formlessness. The soul is reality, true substance, spirit.
Maybe the relation to meditation is had this week about the material world, and a shadow of spiritual reality.
Yes, you could say that. It is not only a shadow, but it is a counterfeit shadow.
That's what I didn't understand. That the spiritual world, um, like the soul, isn't that under the shadow. How does it get a shadow?
Shadow is just a way of talking about something that appears to us to be insubstantial. It's something that seems to be, but actually it is nothing. So we use the word shadow. Now, some people speak, the Buddhists speak of illusion or a dream. So when you say shadow, illusion, or dream, the same thing is meant. There is something that seems to be substantial, but actually it is nothing. It is just thought in visible form. I can surmise that you are very puzzled about these things.
Very puzzled.
I would recommend you a lot of patience. Just be patient and ponder the problem, and it will come to you.
You said the consciousness is conscious of itself, of being conscious.
That's correct.
Now, is the object of consciousness then, it is aware of what seems to be and of what is
Yeah.
at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there is a question whether real consciousness is conscious of unreality. But the human experience is that we can be conscious of that which is real and that which is unreal.
The soul and consciousness are the same then?
I wouldn't say that it's the same. The soul is the pure Christ consciousness, you see, the real consciousness. And it is questionable whether the soul can be aware of unreality.
Okay.
But maybe it is. I cannot answer that question.
Awareness and consciousness is the same.
Yeah, awareness is a faculty of consciousness. And of course, we can be aware of the good and the bad, of the real and the unreal, you know.
Yes.
And but the Bible implies that God is not aware of the unreal.
Unreal.
Right.
Dr. Hora, this is Michael.
Yes, Michael.
There's a difference between consciousness and awareness?
Awareness is a faculty of consciousness.
There's a difference between divine ideas and thought.
Existentially valid thoughts are divine ideas. Existentially invalid thoughts only seem to be, but they are not. You see, and take for instance, 2 and 2 is 4 is a mathematically valid thought, right?
Yes.
2 and 2 is 5 also seems to be a mathematical thought, right?
Yeah.
But it isn't. It's nothing. Nothing which seems to be something. Now, mathematics per se doesn't know anything about 2 and 2 is 5. But we can have the illusion that it is a mathematical formula. If we don't know the truth, are you with me?
Not really.
No, I can see that.
In the context of a faith question of formlessness and formlessness is form,
Yes,
the invalid thoughts are formlessness and they become form,
yes.
but the valid thoughts are not formless.
The valid thoughts are neither form nor formlessness. They are realities.
So they don't manifest themselves in form.
In dimensionality, right. God has created a non-dimensional universe. God's universe is non-dimensional. There is neither time nor space in it.
And where are we?
We seem to be in a dimensional world, but actually we are in the non-dimensional universe of God's reality as individual living souls. That's where we really are. Never born and never dying. Hid with Christ in God.
Thank you. I think. Yeah, but
It boggles your mind, huh?
Okay.
Well, you just be patient, and one of these days it will become clear to you. If you persist in searching.
Hello, Dr. Hora.
Yes,
This is Christy.
yes, Christy.
Oh, you were speaking about awareness as a faculty of consciousness.
Yes,
I was thinking of other faculties of consciousness like spiritual discernment.
yes.
I wondered if there were more that I haven't presently thought of, and what would be the difference between awareness and spiritual discernment.
Spiritual discernment is the faculty of being aware of spiritual values, spiritual qualities, and spiritual ideas.
And what would be some of the other faculties in consciousness?
Well, of course, in consciousness, you have to distinguish between divine consciousness and human consciousness. In human consciousness, we can be aware of all sorts of things, but those are all illusory. They belong to the world of Maya, samsara, or illusion. Now, in divine consciousness, we are aware of spiritual values, qualities, and ideas. They are the building blocks of divine reality, and that's all there is. So spiritual discernment and the faculty of beholding, these are divine faculties. This is the divine consciousness is aware of these factors. And they are all non-dimensional. Spiritual values and spiritual qualities are non-dimensional.
Well, then, being aware of these values is this the purpose of the living soul?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Christy.
Dr. Hora, this is Michael.
Yes, Michael.
One of the other questions that Jenny came up with that awareness is one of the gifts of God. When is it given?
When is it given?
Yes.
The question when refers to a time period, a time frame. There is no time element in divine reality.
But it's not going to be given to a person. We're not going to become aware.
No, we will, hopefully, we will awake to our awareness. We are pre-existent, Michael. We are not going to become perfect. We are perfect, but we don't know it. It's hidden from us. We are not going to become spiritual one of these days. We are spiritual, but it is hidden from us. We are not going to become living souls someday after we die. We are those living souls, but it is hidden from us. The Bible says it hid with Christ in God. And what we are studying and meditating about is that it may become unhidden. That which is hidden has to become unhidden. The veil has to be rent, as the Bible speaks. Open thou mine eyes, that I may behold wondrous things out of thy law, says the psalmist.
Hard at the Jenny.
Yes, Jenny.
The question that I asked about the awareness of when it is given, it seemed in my study that we always were and always will be and always have been living souls, and a part of that is the awareness. Is that correct?
Yes. The living soul is aware.
Yeah. Michael said, "Who hit it?"
Who hid it?
Said, "Who hit it?"
Adam.
Adam.
What is the metapsychiatric interpretation of original sin, Michael?
I don't know. Is it judging by appearance?
No.
Yep.
Self-confirmatory ideation.
Yeah.
What is the meaning of the living soul of perfect awareness becoming distracted by self-confirmation?
The living soul is not becoming distracted by self-confirmation, but self-confirmation is the veil which prevents us from seeing ourselves as we really are and what we really are.
Dr. Hora,
Yes,
this is Carol,
yes, Carol.
and we're Adam and Eve. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but were they, before they had the knowledge of good and evil, were they aware of the living soul? Did they realize their perfectness until they knew about good and evil?
Well, you have to understand that the story of Adam and Eve is not a historical account. There was never a time when there was an Adam and Eve just happened. It's not a historical story. Adam and Eve are symbolic representations of the human condition, where man is in a state of ignorance, preoccupied with self-confirmation. And as a result of it, he is increasingly more and more ignorant and suffers the consequences.
When God first created man, is it true then he only created soul?
That's right.
Oh.
But you must not think in historical terms. See, the Bible gives the impression that maybe a few thousand years ago, or 2 million years ago, God went to work and matched it all up. Now, these are just allegorical ways of trying to bring to our attention the difference between what seems to be and what really is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Hora, this is Michael.
Yes, Michael.
On the paper that I presented this morning,
Yes.
Faces of Understanding.
Yes.
What is this activity that takes place that is transforming? That the words that you speak have meaning? That all of a sudden I heard what you say and I can define the word that you spoke.
Yes.
But there still isn't an understanding of being a living soul.
Yes.
Being a real, eternal.
We are voicing the truth to the extent that we are able to know it. And they that are sufficiently receptive become transformed by it, by the grace of God. You know, the Bible says, they that received him, to them gave he the power to be the sons of God. You see, when you become a seeker, Michael, you become receptive to the truth, wherever it may come from. It will reach you in a meaningful way, as you have hinted already. And then you will get glimpses of the truth of being. And this realization will heal you and bless you and transform you. Therefore, it is vitally important to become a seeker, because knowers don't get anywhere, except into theological seminary.
I got that part. How can we develop receptivity?
Well, when we succeeded, or we were blessed by an understanding of the 6 types of students in metapsychiatry, we were able to help people to understand and to see in the ways that they are interfering with their own progress. Do you know the 6 types of students of metapsychiatry?
Intimately.
It can be very helpful with sincere people, because if you don't know what is hampering you, then you are at a disadvantage. But if it is brought to your attention, then you can become a seeker. And that in itself is a healing, very much desired.
In your class on thinking and help, one of the statements that was made is that we see with our thoughts.
Yes.
How can we become aware that we're seeing with our thoughts and overcome that tendency?
Well, once you become aware of the fact that you see with your thoughts, then you realize that you're really blind, because you are not awake to the fact of awareness. Your thoughts prevent you from being aware. Yesterday, somebody asked me the following question: Dr. Hora, if I am looking at a flower, am I thinking about this flower, or am I aware of this flower? How would you have answered this lady?
And she could be doing both.
Not likely.
Not at the same time. Well, she could be doing either.
People who see what they think, they only see their own thoughts. People who have already awakened to the faculty of awareness can really see. Thinkers are blind. They only see their own thoughts. This is very interesting about prejudice. People who entertain prejudicial thoughts against certain kinds of people are completely unable to see anything except what they expect to see. There's a terrible thing about prejudice, that it blinds people to anything else that might be there except what they expect to see. And that makes, of course, communication very difficult.
So essentially, as a human being, we're all prejudiced.
Well, I wouldn't say that. If you become a seeker, then your faculty of awareness is awakened within you, and you can see things which you did not expect to see.
The lady that was looking at the flower, if she was aware, what would she see?
Well, she was grappling with this problem. Now, if I were to tell you answer your question, then you would have a preconceived notion of what you are supposed to see in order to believe yourself to have awareness. And then this would be a preconceived notion, and you would see what I told you to see.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
What column? But the six
Students.
students. Okay.
6 types of students.
Okay, but these 6 types of students perpetuate their ignorance because they start with man and the material world and try to understand from there. And the seeker is willing to start with God.
That's a good point, yeah. But of course, God can also be a preconceived idea. And then what you have is a religious man.
I just want to remind you to turn over the tape.
I just did.
Well, our last tape came back halfway blank.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I hope you are recording it too.
That we do.
So
And we still have a tape.
we are fail-safe.
Right.
I must have pressed the wrong button last week. Instead of the record button, I must have pressed the play button. And he was playing an empty tape, I suppose.
So the human person, as human person, is that what the Bible means? The natural man cannot be aware of the things of the spirit.
That's right, Jan. That's right.
So we cannot be aware as persons, but only as souls.
That's right.
So is there any connection between the person, as we appear as persons in bodies, and the soul? Or is there absolutely no connection at all?
Absolutely no connection at all.
We should see the faces here.
Disappointment?
No. Shock, amazement.
You ain't nothing but a hound dog.
Dr. Hora, this is Alexandra.
Yes, Alexandra.
From what I'm understanding about the Adam and Eve being self-confirmatory ideation,
Yeah.
and that story is symbolic of the human condition.
Right.
And as I understand it, each one of us, when we were born, were there that we're all Adams and Eve, and this ignorance or this mistake continues to repeat itself.
Absolutely. Right.
And now, if God created soul, and God is only aware of the real, and we're all living souls or living Christ,
Yes.
and the material is an illusion,
Yes.
then I do not understand why I just got the signal on the why.
Yeah. Adam
I
keeps
understand the purpose of this repeated ignorance, and if God is only aware of the real and God is all there is,
Yes.
what is the meaning of anything else?
Yeah. It's absolutely meaningless, except that it has some value.
What is the meaning? What is the value?
It's the same value as darkness. What is the value of darkness?
It disappears when the light is introduced.
That's right.
So it's a way that we can tell the difference.
Exactly. That's the only thing that we can fathom.
So we're given the gift of knowing the light from the darkness.
Exactly.
And depending on our interest in it, then we will be living in the light.
Exactly. Right. You're asking very good question.
Thank you.
And your reasoning is very clear. I liked it.
Thank you, Dr. Hora. Dr. Hora, this is Jay.
Yes, Jay?
And my paper was on prayer.
Yes.
The question that I'm interested in right now after Alexandria is what kind of prayer can help us become more interested in God?
Prayer doesn't help us to be more interested in God. Only suffering helps us to be interested.
I'm very good at that.
Give yourself a medal.
Yeah, I've got a few. So what does prayer do?
Well, most of the time it doesn't do anything. Because-
John is coaching me.
What did he say?
I said, John is coaching me. I'm
Yeah.
going to quit asking his questions.
It is very important to know what real prayer is.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Today I spoke to a young lady who said, I keep saying to myself, I am here for God. I am here for God. Every day I say this. And nothing is happening. I don't see God anywhere, and He isn't doing anything for me. Now here you have someone to whom prayer is a fantasy of having a contractual relationship with God. I will do this for you, and I expect you to do something for me, right? Here is a prayer which is absolutely useless. You see, the most frequent error which people fall into when they are praying is the idea that prayer is a handle on God. That by praying you can influence God and make Him do things for you.
That's a lot of what my paper was about.
Yes.
I used counterpart of A Course in Prayer by Francis Merchant and the Visualization Imagination. I pray for another one who simply visualize that person performing a perfect pattern.
Yes. What kind of pattern?
Whatever they're visualizing
Yes.
should be, which is not, doesn't go along with metapsychiatry.
Right. Well, you see, the error here is that the assumption that what is needed is an improved form. That if we are visualizing and imagining people and conditions, we are praying for God to improve the material structure of something or someone. But God knows nothing about forms. God is the creator of a non-dimensional universe. So what sense does it make to talk to God about forms. And when we are imagining and visualizing, we are creating forms, holding up this form, and we are saying to God, you fix it according to my design. Again, another futile idea about prayer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Hora, this is Faye.
Yes, Faye?
Similar of prayer and meditation, where three things we talked about in class is forgiveness.
Yes.
Right? Forgiveness of invalid ideas.
Yeah.
What I get a little confused is in the meditation, I will visualize the people and ask for forgiveness. Or their name will come up.
Yeah.
Now, with that, using save an individual, that thing with James that talked about rather David.
Well, whenever you are resorting to visualization and imagination, whether for the future or the past or the present, you are praying in vain, because you are dwelling in the realm of the dimensional. And God is not there. God is not in it. You remember the story of Elijah on Mount Horeb?
No,
No?
no.
He went looking for God on Mount Horeb. And he prayed. And there was a big earthquake where rocks were falling down and a tremendous noise. And God was not in the earthquake. And then there was a tremendous firestorm. And God was not in the firestorm. And then there was a hurricane. And God was not in the hurricane. And after all this commotion, Elijah became aware of a still small voice in his consciousness. And that was God. Can you see the implications of this biblical story? You see, you can visualize hurricanes, you can visualize firestorms, you can imagine an earthquake. God is not in it. But you cannot visualize a still small voice. That you have to hear in your consciousness. That is non-dimensional. And that's where God dwells.
And now what
What did you say?
I don't know what else to say.
Uh-huh. Well, silence is just as good.
That's what Elijah understood.
Right.
So if we are not seeking for an improved form,
Yeah.
are we seek to become aware of what really is so that the form can disappear, or dissolve?
If you want the form to disappear or dissolve, you're involved with form.
Form, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Whether you want to improve a form or make it worse or make it disappear, it's like trying to make 2 and 2 to not be 5.
Yeah.
right? And that's a futile effort. And one is involved with nothingness. So prayer is attentiveness to that which really is, paying attention to that which really is, and listening to the still small voice, listening for spiritual, creative, intelligent ideas which make it possible for us to come ever so close, ever closer to the realization of the Christ, which we are.
So in that realm, form becomes really irrelevant.
Absolutely.
How do you hear a still voice?
The still voice is a soundless voice. You hear it in the inner ear, in your spiritual consciousness. It is an idea or a whole complex of ideas emerging in awareness. The soundless voice of God, or the soundless music of life.
You know, like the sound of one hand?
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Before we called, we were discussing about translating divine ideas into human form. Is this, say there was a scientist and a composer and a sculptor, would they get the same thing and translate it in their own way, or would it be specific for each one?
Well, you are talking about the creative process, right?
Yes.
Yes. Well, it is unique to every individual. If Beethoven couldn't write a Mozart symphony, and Mozart couldn't write a Beethoven symphony.
Did they hear the same thing? And
No, they heard their own messages directly from the creative mind. Infinite mind has infinite messages to an infinite number of creative consciousnesses. Every snowflake is different. Every leaf is unique on a tree, right?
how can I get to the realm of the non-dimensional? The more we discuss it, the more I've become aware I've never been there. I've always thought that I have been.
Well, take Highway 405. San Diego Freeway.
Yeah, does that end up in La Jolla?
La Jolla, yes. A nice place. Yes. You just keep studying, Michael, and you'll get there. By the grace of God, you'll get there.
By the way, there is a movie for this now, where Beethoven comes back to Earth.
Yeah.
Heard about that?
I heard about it. The comedian plays in it. What's his name?
Ustinov.
Ustinov, yes.
Yes.
Right.
he got a hearing aid and he didn't like it. That's funny.
Yeah. And he said that the record had a hole in it.
He absolutely. Dr. Hora, this is Faith.
Yes, Faye.
Here, in our prayer to be attentive. Here's going back to my struggle with forgiveness. Attentiveness, does that mean also being attentive to God and other people? Would that be a form of forgiveness?
Well, forgiveness consists primarily in giving up the delicious pain of blaming people. If you surrender that desire to blame people, forgiveness will happen automatically. No problem.
Dr. Laura,
Yes.
this is Elizabeth.
Yes, Elizabeth.
I seem to not be clear on the idea of praying for other people. And I've asked you about it before.
Yeah. And you still don't know?
Is there something wrong?
Just a joke.
It's the idea of praying for individuals who are unreceptive.
Praying for individuals who are unreceptive.
Like with a client, for example.
Yeah.
Sometimes it seems like it's not a good idea, and yet I don't know, is there a prayer that's always beneficial? Or
Yes, there is a prayer which is always beneficial.
what would that be?
You pray to be healed of judging him.
So is our prayer really for our own consequence?
That's right.
In that case, it could never be unbeneficial.
Of course.
Oh, I think I've heard you talk about how if you pray for somebody who's unreceptive, it could create some kind of disturbance in their consciousness. Is that correct, or did I misunderstand?
Yes, yes. If you try to pray in such a way as implying God fix him up or change him or make him receptive or such things, then you are slipping into witchcraft. And witchcraft is hypnotism and personal mind power and influencing people mentally. And that is just a troublemaker.
Could you help me understand how is it beneficial to the other person for us to pray for our own understanding?
Well, people subliminally are aware of our thoughts. And if our thoughts are critical and judgmental, if you think, you are unreceptive, right?
Right.
The individual is aware of it somewhere below the level of consciousness. And then the resistance is really in the therapist. So we must constantly meditate and purify our own view of others. And when we reach a non-judgmental attitude of blessing others, when we can clearly know that everyone is here for God, whether they know it or not, the patient or our friend and enemy will have a different kind of experience when they are close to us. And that will have a healing effect.
Or even if they're not close to us?
Even if they're not close to us. The quality of our thought can be a hindrance or can be a great help in the healing process.
Yeah, that makes it much clearer. Thank you.
Okay, Elizabeth.
Because although, as we discussed today, that we are living souls,
Yeah.
as such, we really don't communicate as human person.
Yes.
So would it not, is it the same to say that everyone is here to God, as being that we are all living souls?
Yes, that's very helpful. But it's good.
But we see ourselves in that way, then there is there's nothing to pray for.
That's
The
right.
praying that we see that.
Yes. Well, that's the meaning of the commandment, love thy neighbor as thyself. In fact, it means you have to know that your neighbor is also a living soul, just as you are. And the more clearly you know it about yourself, the more clearly you will be able to know it about others.
The commandment of Jesus was to love one another as I have loved you.
Yeah.
How did Jesus love her?
Jesus loved us as spiritual beings, living souls, manifestations of omniactive love intelligence, places where God's presence reveals itself. That was the secret of his power to heal. He could behold people as living souls, in spite of all appearances to the contrary. And those that received him were healed.
Dr. Hora?
Yes,
Jenny.
yes, Jenny.
I have always been under the impression that when the had dear Zacchaeus overcome the world, it was at the very last moment that he was here. When did he overcome the world?
Well, I think 4 p.m. in the afternoon on a Wednesday. What exactly did you mean, Jenny?
Well, the thought occurred to me that perhaps he overcame the world in the sense of being fully aware before he began his ministry in order to be able to communicate with the people.
Well, we cannot pinpoint when it happened, but we know that he too went through a process of spiritual evolution and growth.
We have come to the end of our session
Yes, yeah.
and the end of the course. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Hello.